All right, let's make this quick. So, compared to last time, we have made some progress. Part of the things we did recently is that I had to kind of sit down and try and figure out the direction of the game. So, my plan with that is I just had AI ask me a bunch of questions, create like a little questionnaire for myself, and then from there I answered them. It was just kind of like, what type of game do I want to build? Okay, it wasn't really that question because that question is completely unhelpful, but I cannot tell you at the top of my head because this is the morning and I did that yesterday and I kind of have to jog my memories, but I'm trying to make this video. Doesn't matter. I did that because I realized, hey, I kind of have to start actually designing and organizing the game. Um, and figure out a why. Like, why are you doing any of this? What's the purpose? One of the things I had to like start thinking about is sort of like, I so for this game, I think it's gonna be like a 2D top-down Metrovania, right? You know how Metrovanias has like its little zones and whatnot, and then with the Metrovania, there's like, I don't know, like level gating and stuff like that, blockages. One of the other things as I wrote down is I really want people to revisit earlier levels like this. For example, I really want to make it possible to revisit. Um, so, I have one idea about that. One of my ideas is just maybe have like dungeons, and then if you enter a dungeon it goes from easy, medium, hard, nightmare. And so if you want to do nightmare, you're probably going to come back to these early levels to challenge nightmare difficulty, which would just be the highest difficulty for these early game dungeons. Something like that though. But okay, so the next thing I did was, I don't remember if I in the last video I talked about this, but so my game now has this item system. You can pick up the item system. If you go into here, it shows up. But guess what? Look at this. Look at this. I added this. If you right click, boom, you see this? I have a trash option and an equip. Boom. Equip right here. You see it. Now, it does not actually show on the player. Now, I'm really debating whether or not I'm even gonna add animations in this game. Like, I'm willing to add animations, but hear me out. First of all, this is my first game. One thing I am realizing, you know, the reason why people say make small games is because completing a project is pretty difficult, man. The more you do, the more ideas come. There's this. I definitely fell into the trap of like, I don't know what's the word. I don't know if it's like, who knows, bro. The whatever happens when you feel like you want to add more and more and more, and then the game kind of keeps scaling and scaling, and then you get lost from the original idea because you start feeling like, oh my god, this is too small and finite. You want to add more features, more features. So I could add animations, but I'm not sure about that. I don't know about adding animations because polishing takes a lot of time. You know, listen. And one thing I have been doing, because I've only been really going at it, I have a habit tracker, maybe like a little less than 40 days of consistency of actually trying to build a game. I was bouncing around from engine to engine until I said, fuck it, I'm just gonna make this shit with TypeScript. No phaser, because I don't like these game engines. They're too opinionated. At least if I do things from the ground up, I only add what I need as I need it in the moment, and then I start to understand the value of it. But so one of the things I've been really trying my best to learn, right, and to just stop, is just knowing the difference between polish, right, and necessity. What do I mean by polish versus necessity? For example, There are certain things when you're building a game or any type of creative project and it's functional, the general idea is there, but the behavior is simply not ideal. What do I mean by this? For example, um, this item right here. There's a bug. Look, it opens up when it's closed, right? That is a bug, right? But for the most part, my menu works. This is not ideal. Um, and I could sit down and waste my time. My bad. I could sit down and waste my time trying to figure this out, or I can just essentially go ahead and move on and work on the other stuff. Because I think what matters most, especially when you're not like an experienced person, is to just keep that momentum going, keep making important changes, not wasting all your time on energy on fixing this items tab because the behavior isn't ideal. That's polished to me. Does the GUI work? Yes. Can I open it up? Yes. Can I equip? Yeah. Can I trash? I don't know. Yeah, I mean my trash doesn't work, but oh, it does work. I wasn't sure. So that's what really matters. But then the other thing I had to the other thing I had to sit down is if I go here, right, boom. So I have this scroll, right, and then I also have this book. See, this is where the game design aspects really starts to really kick in, like in terms of creativity and designer, is because I'm like, well, what the hell is gonna go in these scrolls? What the hell is gonna go in these books? I put an axe, and one of the things I was thinking about this axe, I was like, well, this is another example of broken. My camera kind of irks me, right? I mean, I'm like ignoring it, but my camera is not ideal. I would want the camera constantly following the player, not when he reaches the edge and then the camera moves. But my camera works for now, and I don't want to stay on top of this. I'll just add that to like the polish list, because what matters is, does it work? Can we move on to the next stage, right? So yeah, so in terms of, as I was saying, like in terms of a designer, I really have to start designing the game. Like, why do I have this scroll? What is gonna be there? How many types of scrolls? How many tiers of scrolls? So that's something I have to figure out. The other thing is, you see this axe, right? The thing with this axe is, I'm not sure like if I should make it a requirement to break down the trees, but maybe not, because I would want a crafting system. So maybe I'll just make it like, if you don't have a axe, it's gonna take a long ass time. I do want a crafting system, but it's not gonna be like a mining game, you know. I might have like caves and stuff, but I would just literally make it clickable and say, here you go, you can go and click this, right? So, but the thing is, like, that's one of the things I've also been doing, is I've been trying to figure out how to diagram. I've been trying to use mermaid charts to diagram, but we're getting there, because it feels like a long web of information, of interconnected things, and that is very overwhelming, and I didn't realize this. So that's kind of another reason why you kind of have to start with a small project, or just a project you feel is within your abilities, so you can enter flow. But I'm missing the point. The point of what I'm saying is this: the reason why you have to pick a small or like a finite game is because once you have like your basic movement down, once you have the basic attack down, right? Once you have in the game the ability to spawn objects, right? Once the foundations of a game is there, right? Which means movement, attack, does your health go up and down, does the concept of death exist, do you have, if it's an RPG, is your turn base there, right? All right, does a turn-based system add sprites? Once all of those things are done, right, like literally the found functional programming foundations of your game is done. What's left is the artistic, creative, designer aspects of the game, which is a whole other skill set, because now you have to ask questions like, okay, you're set up. Now you can add maps to the game and the maps load and whatnot. Okay, you don't have to think about building that, right? Why? Why is this here? Why is this there? What's the purpose of this? If the player's here, like, so, you know, so it's like a multi-layer cake, man. And if you keep getting stuck on the programming aspect of building games, you're never going to arrive and develop the skills at the higher levels of making games. This is a reason why making games is like a team effort, because bro, you could be struggling there all your life, right, with just programming the game, right? But then once you do that, now you have to essentially architect the world and design the world. And if you constantly are restarting projects, you're never going to arrive at that stage and actually start designing. So there's that. So the last thing I would like to share, let me move, because bro, I'm getting so tired of this map. I might have to make another map, just because I am so tired of this. Is one of the things. I don't know if I'm gonna do this, but I have been so inconsistent with the map sizes that I think I might. I don't know if I'm gonna keep eyeballing it, or if I'm just going to create like a consistent size guide. We'll see, right? Because sometimes I'm like, I don't really want to redo stuff, right? So the last thing I did, so these don't actually have any item spawns because I did not set them. I've been using LTDK to do that. The last thing I added was, boom. You see this? So if, oh wait, it's kind of broken, but look. Boom, look at this. Boom, boom. Right? Boom, 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 boom. So, I added a projectile system to my game. Yes, I added a projectile system. So, why am I using this? So, the reason I'm using, my bad. So, the reason I'm using this grid is because I was thinking, see, this is what I mean. You have to start thinking like a game designer now. So I said, let me have a projectile system. Boom, I built that, right? And I have a projectile system. But then I started thinking, I was like, well, I have to start thinking about my game, like in terms of like loot. Like, what are some differences between other aspects of, what's the difference between, let's say, different tiers of fire spells? So my solution to that was, I created this grid system. If you have a shitty fire spell, right, low tier fire spell, it might only move one grid. But then if you have a higher tier fire spell, you can move 2 grid. If you have an even better fire spell, it's essentially like a sniper, and you could do let's see, 1 2 3 let's just do 1 2 3 4 5, whatever. You could do this a lot, right? Let's say if you have a higher tier fire spell, it could go up to a distance of 8 boxes or 8 squares. So that's one of the things I was thinking. I'm not sure how I would balance, but I'm thinking about moving my entire game to a grid system. But I think I might need like pathfinding, so I would have to look into that. But part of the reason why I just decided to use TypeScript is because there's a lot of libraries out there that already exist, and in my experience, I don't know, I tried some of the assets with like in Godot and some of them in Default. The ones so I don't know, sometimes it's like sometimes the assets and stuff like that be a little shaky, and I know for sure I've struggled bro, I struggle too much trying to put my preferred tile map is LDTK. I tried tiled, but I'm very sensitive to UI, and if the UI of the editor is too terrible, I'm gonna be honest. Like, a lot of people recommend Godot, but I'm gonna just be honest. I hate the editor. It's not intuitive. It drains me. It drains my decisions. The tile map makes no sense. Um, there's just no flow for it. Like, yes, if you memorize it, yeah, you'll eventually be in flow. But like, I every time I had to open up the editor, I would watch tutorials. Listen, this is what I had to do. This is how unintuitive Godot's editor was for me. I would watch a video, and I would have to screenshot everything, and then create like a recipe for myself, because no matter how many times I tried, it just made no logical sense. Like, I don't know, man. Just for me, the reason I tried default is because default at least made a lot more intuitive sense with the structuring. Until then, I was like, I just don't like the editor or game engines in general. They're too opinionated and things have to be done a certain way. And I'm like, well, if things have to be done a certain way, I might as well do things my way. I'm not gonna as of right now. Listen, JavaScript, TypeScript might not be a perfect language, but hear me out. These web developers, listen, I know people talk about Godot community and stuff like that, or like, the Unity community. Well, hear me out. The JavaScript web developer community is phenomenal, man. There's so much stuff, so many resources, not just from like game stuff. There's so much scientific projects. There's so many open source projects that you can literally look at the source code and apply it. So what do I mean by this? One of the things I've been so curious about is making my own game engine. How would I do that? Well, hear me out. First of all, LDTK is open source. VS Code is open source. Guess what? This is the cool thing about these JavaScript technologies. One day, if I'm really about it, I can sit down and try and Frankenstein something. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to work for my needs, right? It doesn't have to be a consumer project. It just has to work for me. And I get to do that with JavaScript and TypeScript. Or you want like an event system? Probably exists. A star probably exists. You know what I mean? Oh, you want 3D? I know 3JS works. Now, are you gonna be making some AAA type stuff? Hell no, bro. Hell no, bro. Hell no. No way in hell. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's possible. I'm not gonna doubt it, but well, a AAA game has a fleet of people, so I don't know about that. But what I'm trying to get at though is that's why I chose TypeScript and stuff like that. No React and stuff. Actually, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. The more I use just TypeScript, the more I'm like, I don't know about React and stuff like that. But I mean, for a job, sure. But I would love to try that other language. I don't know what it's called. That people say is really nice. I just can't remember it just because it's not widely adopted. But yeah. Like, I don't know. I'm like, if I'm an indie developer, so I mean, yeah, you could do phaser and stuff like that, but I don't know. I don't know. Because for me, I like an entity component system, and I'm really big on being able to understand what's going on. And so if I can name everything, that makes it a lot easier. So my tech stack is just TypeScript and Pixie.js. That's what I'm using. And then I built my own entity component system. Super simple, not like a complex one, because I tried bit ECS and I'm like, what the hell are type 32 arrays or type 64? Something like that. I was like, I don't know what that means, bro. This is like too over engineered for my use case. I'm really going to stand on, just fix things as issues arise so you can understand the value of the solutions. If you apply a solution in preparation for encountering an issue, no point, no point. I think that's one of the reasons why you have to build projects, and just build things as you feel, you know what I mean, even if it's not correct, because you should follow, you should, okay, I'm gonna end this with this. You should build and use your own intuition, and just follow your own intuition all the way through. And then as you encounter issues, right, and you realize the flaws of your own intuition, then your intuition is going to recalibrate. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, you could try and do stuff with a guide, or you can say, let me just build these things for myself. Okay, I'll give you a good example, and then I'm going to end the day. So when it comes to being a developer, right, there's this thing called, what is it? When it comes to being a developer, or even any creative person, right, there is tutorial hell, right? There is tutorial hell. What is tutorial hell? You're reliant on resources to do whatever it is you want to do, right? You need that as a guiding light. You need to constantly reference it. There's a fear of opening up the blank canvas, whether it's an IDE or literal canvas or a notebook, and there's a struggle to write. And to that I say, just start typing, right? Just start typing and figure out when you hit the wall. And when you hit the wall and you cannot progress any further, that's when you pivot, That's when you start looking into stuff. And then over time, that intuition is going to grow. But also, don't be afraid to do things unconventionally and do things in a way that makes more sense. So for me, the way my brain works is I just like making like systems and functionality first, right? I don't like OOP. I realize the reason why I struggled and was in tutorial hell for so long is because so many things are object oriented, and object oriented just doesn't make sense to me. So what I prefer to do is just create functional systems, like I don't know, just if I make a health system and boom, that's good enough for me, and then I can easily test that health system. I don't need any visual or like, I don't know, or I just type in and make an RNG system, and that's stuff like that is super easy to test, and that gets me going, right? Or I create a movement system, stuff like that. But I'm gonna end this here. Have a great day, because I gotta go to work.